Hello, good evening. I'm Soraya Mia and you're watching AWANI Tonight. Tolls at 5 additional highways in the Klang Valley will be able to accept debit and credit cards as payment. Works Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalingi says these 5 highways have agreed to join the open payment system that will be available from mid-September. The 5 highways are Damansara Puchong Expressway LDP, Sprint Highway, Shah Alam Expressway Kesas, Smart Tunnel and Kuala Lumpur Putrajaya Expressway MEX. Alexander said the open payment system was a step to prepare for transition to the multi-lane fast flow MLFF system at highways. The new system is expected to provide a barrierless experience. The Sungai Besi Expressway has been selected as the first location to assess the MLFF system before it is implemented for all highways in the country. The Attorney General's Chambers has been asked to review the proposal to set up an independent complaints mechanism against enforcement agencies. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim says this is to ensure enforcement agencies do not conduct their own investigations into any cases involving its officers or personnel.
Pada pendapat saya, ini suatu cadangan yang lebih baik, iaitu satu badan bebas yang boleh mengambil tindakan, menyiasat, mengambil tindakan terhadap semua aduan atau tuduhan terhadap badan penguatkuasaan. Ini termasuk, saya tegaskan semula, polis, SPRM, custom, immigration dan lain-lain yang berkaitan.
Meanwhile, the Women, Family and Community Development Ministry, KPWKM, will enforce the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act 2022 or Act 840 in phases starting today. The ministry said this involves the definition of sexual harassment, elements of awareness and prevention of sexual harassment in the community.
The ministry said the stages of implementation takes into account the importance of educating the people, as well as increasing understanding and awareness of issues involving sexual harassment before the act is fully enforced. It reiterated the importance of understanding the definition of sexual harassment as well as its effects on survivors. Act 840 was passed in the Dewan Rakyat on July 20th, 2022 and subsequently in the Dewan Negara on August 11th last year. It was then gazetted as a new law on October 18 after receiving royal assent from the Yang di-Pertuan Agong.
Between 2020 and 2021, Malaysia's courts saw a 42% increase in sexual offences against children. Yesterday, the government tabled several amendments to the Evidence of Child Witness Act and Sexual Offences Against Children Act to better protect our children. Karen Lai from the Women's Centre for Change weighs in on the proposed amendments and what gaps should be addressed.
The offence of sexual extortion. The wording of sexual extortion, the sexual extortion provisions under Section 15, capital B of the proposed new Act, are rather unclear. For instance, under Section 15, capital B sub A, the phrase "threaten a child to engage in an activity that is sexual in nature" is a little ambiguous. The second point on compensation to the child is an important one. So we would like to say that this compensation provision should expressly state that it takes priority not just over the payment of costs of prosecution, but also the payment of any fine imposed on the perpetrator. It should also take into account any expenses or damages incurred by the child's parents or guardian, and not just the child, because we know typically it's the caregivers, such as family members and all that are managing this. As for the Evidence of Child Witness Act, we note that the new Section 6A provides for the court to allow special hearings to gather the child's evidence. But the thing is, it's not clear whether this special hearing will take place before the trial. The provision also doesn't mention the use of video recorded police interviews as the child's evidence in chief. This is the standard practice in other countries such as the UK and Australia. So perhaps this gap needs to be addressed.
Karen added that several measures need to be put in place to ensure these legal changes can be properly implemented to safeguard children's rights.
I think it's imperative that legislative amendments are given practical effect. They have to be backed up Yeah, especially offenses like sexual live streaming and extortion and all that, they have to be backed up with the necessary technical support in practice. Specifically at the investigation stage, we will need the capacity of the police force to be boosted. And this will include the necessary infrastructure, equipment, knowledge, skills, human resources, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So police officers. Similarly, video live link facilities for children are a concern, yeah, including those in the courts. And we often hear reports that video live link facilities have broken down or they're poorly maintained and so forth. So it's really important, especially in view of ramping up the recording of children's evidence and all that these video live link facilities need to be properly maintained. Both the courts and the prosecutors also have to work towards consistent usage of such facilities.
We'll be right back after the break. Stay tuned.
Premier League diteruskan dengan pertembungan epik. Tiada ruang untuk City melakukan kesilapan bila Liverpool berusaha untuk memusnahkan impian mereka. Sementara Newcastle dan Manchester United bersedia untuk satu lagi persaingan sengit. Hujung minggu yang dinanti-nantikan. Premier League secara langsung dalam 4K HDR hanya di Astro.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim will join other world leaders to attend the Boao Forum hosted by China in Hainan, an annual conference to promote economic integration in the region. This will also be his first official visit to China as Prime Minister, where he's set to meet top Chinese leaders, including President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. Here to discuss what more to expect during his trip is Dr. Rahul Mishra, Director for Center for ASEAN Regionalism, University Malaya.
Prime Minister's visit is to attend the Power Forum in Hainan, which is considered the Asian Davos. You know, it's really one of the biggest platforms. And if you go to the history of Power Forum, it tells us that at one point, Xi Jinping used or termed Power Forum as a platform that is for Asians by an Asian country. So Asia for Asians is the idea that China wants to bring to the center stage when they host Power Forum. So definitely a lot of Asia and ASEAN related issues are going to come up. Perhaps fast pacing the RCEP process, implementation process. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership certainly will figure in Power Forum negotiations, Power Forum discussions, but also perhaps on ASEAN's stance on US-China competition or ASEAN's outlook on Indo-Pacific. These are questions that will, of course, come from the sidelines, but very important for both Malaysia and ASEAN as a regional grouping. I think at the bilateral level, the focus is possibly going to be more on trade, on mitigating anxieties that Malaysia recently China on the South China Sea issue. This is very clear. We're not vocal and assertive and aggressive with China. We want to settle our disputes peacefully in a very friendly manner with China, and that's why maybe most of the focus would be on having closed-door conversations and talks rather than going vocal and going to the media and talking about it. US-China competition is, of course, a cause of concern for Malaysia and ASEAN countries, but Malaysia is more or less comfortable navigating between the US and China. So I would have thought that at least in the trade area, US-China competition is not really going to worry Malaysia much.
Meanwhile, in Thailand, many surveys show the main opposition party, Pheu Thai, led by Paetongtarn Shinawat, is ahead in the race to govern Thailand in the upcoming May 14 polls. However, analysts say this may not paint a true picture, as any opposition may need a lot more to prevent Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha from forming a government post-election. Virat Ali of Thammasat University gives us a better understanding of the situation in Thailand.
It has been quite festive. It's not problematic. I think the problems would be after the election. As we all know that the constitution in Thailand, which we're using currently, was written a couple of years back under the supervision of the NCPO or the military junta, which still allows the senators, 250 appointed senators, to vote for prime minister. So I think that when the time comes, that would be a problem.
Virat believed that General Prayut, who was leader of the military junta before a 2014 coup, would only need a third of votes compared to what any opposition party or coalition would require to form a government.
There is an interim law that is written in the constitution that in the first 5 years of the constitution, the senators have to vote as well. So you have 500 in the parliament and you have another 250 votes that will come from senators which are appointed. So altogether, you need to be able to have half of the 700 votes, 750 votes, which is 375 or 376. So what's the discussion here in Thailand is that General Prayut will need only 125 in order to be able to form a government, because he already has standing 250 senators waiting to vote for him. And for the other side, i.e. Pheu Thai, in Thailand we call it the democratic side, they would need 375 plus in order to be able to form a government. So there are some couple of things which is what we call residues, or something which has been left over from the constitution that has been written by the military junta.
Over in the U.S., a heavily armed former student killed 3 children and 3 employees of a private elementary school in Nashville. The shooter, believed to have carefully planned the attack, was then shot dead by police.
Police named the suspect as 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who the officer later said identified as transgender. Investigations on the motive behind the shooting are still ongoing. So far, authorities said Hale left behind a manifesto, had maps of the school detailing surveillance and entry-exit points, and was prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement. Police added that the shooter, who was armed with at least 2 assault rifles and a handgun, had entered the Covenant School from a side entrance and fired multiple shots while advancing through the building. One of the 3 children killed was 8 years old and 2 were aged 9. While the adults killed were aged 60 to 61. School shootings are alarmingly common in the U.S., where the proliferation of firearms has soared in recent years. According to the K-12 school shooting database, there have been 89 school shootings in the U.S. in 2023. Last year saw 303 such incidents, the highest number in the database, which goes back to 1970.
At least 20 people were killed and 29 injured after a bus carrying pilgrims hit a bridge, overturned and burst into flames in southwestern Saudi Arabia. This comes during the first week of Ramadan, a busy time for the Umrah pilgrimage.
Authorities said the victims were of various nationalities but did not provide a breakdown. The incident took place in the southern province of Asir, bordering Yemen. In a few months, millions of Muslims are expected to make the annual Hajj pilgrimage. Transporting worshippers around Saudi Arabia's holy sites is a risky task, particularly during the Hajj when roads can be chaotic with buses that create endless traffic jams.
That report wraps up the show tonight. Thanks for watching. My name is Soraya Mia, and we'll see you again.